Good evening, everybody. It is 6 o'clock. I'd like to make a motion to bring our Recreation Committee meeting to order. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Don't be bashful, guys. The sooner we get through it. I'd like to go around the room and mention or tell everybody who we are. Mike Volpone.
Celine Madonna.
David Dempsey.
David Broll. Mark Sands.
Lucian Esmore.
Cindy Courier, Council on Aging.
Our select board member, Alicia Greco, will be here in a couple minutes. She was running late, so. Reading of the previous meeting's minutes. Did everybody get a chance to go through Mark's minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions, discussions? Can I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Bills and claims.
There was just a G Mello bill that I haven't had a chance to submit yet.
And do you have a ballpark number was?
I can look it up.
The only thing we had here, the basketball court invoices, which were the scheduled amounts that we had done for the project, have been submitted to the town administrator. I think we just need to make sure.
There you go.
Give me a second. While she's looking at one thing, I can do the other. We had a 10,600 and change contingency that was built into the budget once it was approved by the town. We've used $1,440, which was additional work they had to do to the two rent areas by the beginning, leaving us about a $9,200 surplus, which we'll be bringing up in a couple minutes. But the court is done. It is opened. People are already using it, and we came in right on budget.
I'll have to find it.
I assume it's for the month of September?
Celine?
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I think I paid the other two.
So then it's going to weekly now as opposed to every other week?
Yeah, basically it is.
Is that a question?
Yeah, they're picking it up weekly, and I just want to make sure that we're being charged weekly. And
Grab a seat.
This is for the month of September, but they only billed me for, they didn't bill for, it's just, what were they doing, once a month?
they're doing in the fall, summer they're doing every other week. Now it's in season, it's once a week.
Okay, this is for September, they bill in advance, and it's not for the full amount.
Okay.
I'd like to go for the record that Alicia Greco, our select board representative, has attended, is joined us. Thank you very much.
I apologize for my tardiness.
Don't worry, just let you know the camera's right over your head.
Can it see?
No,
Nope, don't worry about
you can sit over here.
Can the camera get you guys?
Oh, I can care less what
it.
sees me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm trying so I get that. All right, so total amount so far that's been completed to date was $140,419.
Can you say that again?
140,419. This has been approved with a balance. The last will be invoiced over, but according to Chris Huntress, we have used all but $9,200 of the allotted amount which was the total amount of the budget, plus the additional 1,400, or the projected approval of the RFP, plus an additional $1,440.
I'm confused because you sent an email out from Chris Huntress back on the 27th that we have, it says here, today you have spent the following. We gave the total amount of $168,964.
That would, well, I'm saying here, this is the invoices I've received from the town. Give me a second, then make sure I get the right one. That improve possessions, 2 and 3. The assistant accountant said requisitions 2 and 3 need to be put on a bill schedule and signed by the authorized signer of the committee. I didn't think we needed to do that, but because it was already approved. So they're saying, once you're I'll be able to release a payment to the vendor for requisitions 1, 2, and 3. Let me make sure I have the right 3 requisitions then.
There might be a difference because I think the town picked up the drawing fees.
Plus you had the donation too.
Management fees and so.
Yeah, we were scheduled, I have $168,964. That is what the whole project was valued at.
Say that again?
168,964.
Okay.
I take that back. I gotta take one.
Michael, in the future, it'd be helpful to have these numbers in front of us. Because
Yes,
again,
and I've emailed everybody out this information.
Here's what I'm working from, is the September 27th that you had sent, forwarded from Chris Huntress, that to date we have spent the following, and total was what you just mentioned, $168,964. Is that what we have, the invoice? I'm not asking for invoices. Is that the money that has been allocated?
Yes,
Okay. And for my clarification, we have 170,000 between the 90,000 that we initially asked for, the 50% more that we asked for again, and the 10,000 anonymous donation, and the 9,000 and change from the dedicated parents. As the
the cost of the bid was $128,179.
Can you say that again? 128?
Okay, the original approved amount was $90,000.
Yes.
We received $19,100 in donations.
Yes.
And then we appropriated $19,079 from the recreation revolving fund. And then we received $50,000 from the town at the second meeting. That money was budgeted out to $39,345, which was for the 4 additional basketball stations and the Versa court.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We got an additional $19,000 from the Recreation Committee revolving fund.
Yes,
When was that approved?
last year,
By whom?
the town administrator.
Say that again?
Town administrator, Tracy's
Yeah, what was the amount?
$19,079 we had pulled from the account at that point. We agreed during one of the meetings, and I don't know the specific date, that we would appropriate the money.
Yeah, it
We
had
said,
to be
"Fine."
voted on here before she would do that.
And it was done.
Yeah.
I don't have the specific date. We can go back through if we need to. Leaving us a contingency amount of $10,655. Of that money, we have spent $1,440 on the additional work near the entrance where we had, technically, there's almost like 2 handicap ramps built in. Leaving a final amount that's still allowed, or still eligible to be used, of $9,215.
Okay. Point of clarification, you had wrote to the assistant treasurer that the project was complete.
That's correct.
Okay, but if we're asking to do any more work on the property, it's not complete, particularly if we're bouncing it off the contract with the Vermont company.
We haven't approved that yet, so as of right now, the contract is complete. We can take the snow fence down right now, and the court's ready to go.
I guess I'm not being clear then. The project is not, has the contract been closed out? If it has, then we can't piggyback on it.
I specifically clarified with the town administrator on this, and she said that there was room in your contingency to go move forward with the fence.
That's not the question.
Okay.
The question is, it was stated that the project was done.
According to Chris Huntress.
All right, so Mark, who stated the project was done?
I did.
Michael did.
Okay.
I sent an email after confirming with Chris Huntress the project. I said, are we done? Can I ever let people use the court?
Yes.
And that's when I got the okay from him.
Yeah.
That's a very different question than if the project is done. Because the question that this revolved around, Michael, was the donations that were given, that was held by the Triton Youth Basketball, had stipulated that the project had to be completed by October 31st, which it has not, and you responded that it was completed.
No, the project is completed right
And the
now.
contract, this is a small, silly technical thing. And I bring this up because if you say the project's completed, then if we were to move forward with any other work, it has to go through a different process. We can't piggyback on the
Well,
Vermont.
that's not what the town administrator said. So I specifically asked.
I
the
have no
question.
problems in either way of doing it if he wants to do it the right way. I just thought the idea of,
But we are doing it the right way.
as long as that's being noted, because the last thing I want to do is cause any issues or
So-
problems with it.
so
I just
did-
want to get the fence put in.
Because
We can
the
do it.
project had different, what did you call those?
Options.
Different options.
Yeah.
We didn't go ahead and go with the final option, which is that last fence,
Right.
because we weren't sure what we were gonna hit for the contingency.
Right.
Now that you know what it is, there's enough capacity in that appropriation to absorb that additional fencing. Now, does that mean the project's complete? It is complete because there's people playing on it.
It's usable. Complete means the
All right,
contract has been.
it's usable,
But
please.
it really, the conversation about completed that was taking place between Mike and Chris meant, is it completed to be able to be used at this time?
I think
The contract is still open, the contingency, once you reach and you've paid the amount of the contract, you're allowed at that point in time to access your contingency. You can't access the contingency until you've paid the full amount of the contract. So now, and you said October 31st, so we still have the month of October
Agreed.
for the completion for the donations. So there's still another 26 days for that to take place, for the fence to be done. So I don't understand what the conversation's about. The fence can be done between October 30th, the project is complete for usage, and the contract is still open because there's a contingency that's now gonna be applied to the contract. I don't know what else has to be explained.
Yeah, I just thought that it's the same thing, like if we decided to put pads up to add something additional safety at one point, even though the job is complete, what was specified on those plans is done,
Yes.
right?
Right.
I mean, what was specified in the plan is complete, so in theory, the project is complete, right?
Okay, again, however people want to move forward, to be clear, this has nothing to do with Chris Huntress, the usability, or the contingency. This has to do with a conversation with the funds that were given to us through the Triton Youth Basketball, saying the funds had to be used by this date. Otherwise, they get returned, and the project is completed.
Yeah, we have a usable basketball court.
That's-
If we don't have that fence put in, right, if the fence isn't put in, then you can still use the court.
All right.
That's, again.
The
I'm
project's
not-
complete, I mean, the
Yeah.
project was written up to be a basketball court with 6 hoops, blah, 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 and it's done. And what happens is afterwards, we thought, well, maybe that, and the project's done, we looked at it and said, Dave and I were talking, well, maybe we should put some pads someday so someone doesn't get hurt. And then maybe someday we should buy some basketball, 'cause I don't think I mean, this could go on.
Yeah, I'd like to see flowers over there and landscaping and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you could go on and on and on.
So I mean, I don't know what.
So what is, what?
Is there, are they asking for something
Yeah,
specific?
do they need something from us, from the town?
I don't know what they're asking. I'm just trying to protect the town to make sure that we are following the intent. Now, the best thing to do is to get a release from the fiscal holders of money saying they're certified that the project is complete.
Mark, would you please send a letter then to the Detroit Youth Basketball, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, copy the town administrator.
Yep.
Thank you.
And if there's any, if they have any problems, if you
Yep.
include in there that we're looking to add a fence to keep both equipment from the soccer field, soccer lacrosse fields and the basketball court from intermingling at that point, that's the only reason why we're thinking about doing it, and we'll bring that up in a few minutes. But the rest of the budget has been approved, as it was already approved through it, so I will let the, assistant accountant know that, we are proceeding at this point.
Yeah. There is a vote of the committee needed to move forward with the remaining fence.
That will be brought up in a minute.
Okay.
Any other bills and claims? Okay. Old business, the basketball court, as we were just discussing, and the piece that I wanted to have added here, there is a fence for the field side where the snow fence is. Concern is balls entering the court. According to the previous budget and bid submitted by the Vermont Rec, who is the current contractor for this project, that it would cost about $6,600 to $7,000 to do the fence around it to match what we have in the front. We certainly can do it, because I've asked, Chris had said, all we've got to do is add a rec to the project to see if we want to have it added. So I would like to hear a motion to add the fence to the basketball court, if anybody wants to raise it.
I'll make a motion that we add a fence to the basketball court that will alleviate the problem of the balls and the equipment intermingling between the two different sports. That could be a safety hazard or could cause issues.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Now the discussion. Again, the project priced out according to what Vermont Rec said, it'd be about approximately $7,000. We have $9,200 still left in the budget to do it. We can finish this off and get it done and still be under budget.
Does anybody know how far it is from the end line to the snow fence?
What end line? You're talking the sideline where the wall is?
Well,
or out?
sometimes it's called an end line when the games are going east and west as opposed, north and south versus east and west. So you call it the end line, sideline, whatever you would like to call it. The line.
It's about 6 feet. It's about 6 feet from that sideline to the brick wall, and then from there, I mean, 6 feet, 8 feet. I mean, we want to make sure it doesn't interfere with the septic. I mean, the snow fence was put probably about 10 feet from the wall out.
And I think the reason they put that snow fence there was just, it was a construction snow fence.
Yeah.
It wasn't, so when they do the regular fence, shouldn't it be right on the line, basically?
Maybe a little bit off it, but whatever is recommended by the state in regards to what's considered a safe distance is fine.
I guess my question was, how far is it from the ball playing field, soccer, lacrosse, ultimate playing fields to the basketball courts?
What's the relevancy of that?
Because I'm looking at, it's about 75 feet. So
Well,
if I have a kid who's standing on the sideline, kicking a soccer ball 75 feet into the basketball area, that's a pretty good kick. That's directly a straight shot on the line. If the...
Are you talking when the ball hits the ground and rolls for another 100 feet, or are you talking about in the air?
If a kid can kick a ball either way, that's a pretty hefty distance to go.
So are you saying that you don't think the fence should be put up because it's not gonna be...
And that's his intent. Everybody, this is what discussion is at this point. Let's make sure we go through it.
So my question is, do you feel that the fence shouldn't be put up because it might never happen, or even if it happens once, it could cause an issue or cause a safety issue? So you're saying that no balls will ever go that far distance from the soccer field to end up on the basketball court?
I would never use the word never.
Okay, so what if kids are just warming up and practicing within 20 feet of the basketball court on the other side of the fence, and the ball becomes loose and ends up in the basketball court while there's a basketball clinic going on, or a coach is running a practice or something to that nature? Is that an issue?
No.
It's not an issue if the ball goes?
I hear what you're saying. I'm trying to engage in a conversation, so it's not just a, hey,
Right.
we're gonna do it. One of my questions, Dave, was, have we looked at it and not just said, this is what we want?
This is based on recommendation from the contractor, from Chris Huntress, based on his experience and everything. That was the one concern he had left on the project. That's why I proposed to bring it here.
And I think that from a contractor's point of view, that drop down is pretty close to being where you should have some kind of railing, but it isn't. So the idea of putting a fence up there will, I think, you know,
Anybody
whether it keeps the
walking at
balls or
night-
not, kids running, because kids are kids, it keeps them from running and then dropping down 30 inches or whatever.
Especially at night.
Yeah,
It-
So-
points.
You know,
so I think
you
that
can't see that there's a drop off there, and a lacrosse ball can certainly go 75 feet.
I just think it's a safety issue, it's a preventive safety issue. And I don't know what's relevant from the distance of the field to the basketball court. There's always kids that are fooling around with all kinds of sports equipment out of the perimeter of those fields, in between where the courts are and where the fields are.
It doesn't mean that this is gonna stop it from happening, but it'll reduce it.
It's right.
Because if you only put a 4-foot, 6-foot fence in there, there's still the ability to throw the ball or put the ball up and over. It just prevents things that, highly reduces the ability. I'm not here proposing to spend more money, it's more of a safety concern that we're trying to look out for behalf of the town.
I think the big issue is the darkness. I think that's the other issue, where a kid riding a bike or anything like that, and really doesn't have the perception of where you're coming, and all of a sudden you drop down. You know, a kid's coming along on a bike and he's not really paying attention to the height of it, all of a sudden he's involved in a 3-foot drop. You know, so to me, it's more than just, you know, the concern of.
It's a deterrent.
It's a deterrent, it's preventive, it prevents
Okay.
several things.
So where do you envision this fence to go around?
About halfway out,
Yeah,
in that way.
we've got a fence on one side, so we were saying that to come out this way and come back along that other side, which faces the fields and
Did you
faces
want-
the open space.
Are you thinking about having it being enclosed, or just like we have it section off here type of thing on the other end?
I think it should be the same as the chain link fence that's out front of it. I think it's just exactly the same, it would be preventable, and I think it's something that, the only question I would have is, do we want that fence, if we're gonna put it over there, to have it black? Because again, at night, you can't see a black fence either. That would be my only other concern, if we're really concerned about people seeing it at night. Maybe it would be to put a black fence, but also have some reflectors on the other side for people to be able to see things. That would be the only concern I would have. So,
I definitely think the black fence, you know, it should match the other one.
yeah, and I agree, but I think on the opposite side of people coming towards it, there should be some type of a, you know, visual.
What about those solar things they have now, those lights that you can buy that
Yeah.
are solar up, you can attach it to
Yeah.
some of the posts, and they
The
can.
problem we have then is we have neighbors that don't want lights down on the courts for night. And that was one of the things that was mentioned to me by some of the neighbors in the area. They had someone come up and meet with me at the court, and they said, will this have lights? I said, we do not have at this point plan on having lights on the court.
Right, I wouldn't say we could put lights on the court, but we could put the solar lights that shine up from the ground.
Shine
And that,
Up to
in
the
that
fence.
regards, as long as it's not something
Yeah.
that's gonna
Do
go
they
out.
shine down?
Yeah, they
Does
do.
They have
They-
the solar on the top and
You-
the light?
I have them on my deck that you attach them to the post, and the solar's on the top and the light reflects down, so you can see.
Right,
And then they also have the ones that you can implant, push into the ground, and the sun hits those and then they light up.
It's just a question, we don't want them being stolen too.
Right, well,
Not
that's,
that,
yeah,
not that I'm
The
saying
ones-
anybody would, but it's certainly don't wanna be a
the
replacement.
ones that shine down, they permanently affix to the,
to the,
Fence.
yes, to the fence, yeah.
Again, that's
My
another
husband
cost,
does
it's another cost we'd have to
Yeah. No,
figure
they-
out too, but.
So I have a question, did you want an opening on the other side of the fence like there is on the, coming in? I don't think
I
so.
would say no, because you don't, this way, having them come from the opposite side is the best way, because again, if you put an opening over there, they're still gonna have to step down
Right.
a high step to get onto the court,
Right.
you know?
It's almost like have it to the distance of where the wall is.
Yeah, yeah. The wall is 6 feet, because I went over and spoke to the contractor, because before they put the baskets up, they just had the post, and the post is actually 2.5 feet from the wall. But the basket in the back of the court, which is actually the court line, is 4.5 feet, and then the basket sticks out another 6 inches, so it's approximately 6.5 inches, 6.5 feet from the wall, where the center of the basket is. So that's.
How far from the wall would the fence be?
But that, again, that's a decision that we could utilize the knowledge of the contractor who puts these courts up all over the place, is, you know, the other thing is, do you want it back far enough so people can sit up there and, you know, sit on a blanket and watch a game and watch that, or do you want it close enough so people aren't sitting there, so it's.
And they're leaning against the fence
Right,
instead.
right, it's leaning this way against, so I think Chris would be the one to really walk us through that as far as, you know, what's the practice and what's practicality is when they do put a fence up of that nature, so. You know.
So back to any further discussion regarding this, so if we amended the motion to approve it with the pending the details, we're willing to spend up to X, if we can keep it under the budget, or do we use the full 92 to add the lights and all that stuff to it to make sure we're maintaining reflectors, whatever? How does everybody want to proceed at this point?
I think the fence is probably, I think we need at this point, I mean,
Start with the fence, the reflector things are just
Yeah, just
small
see
money
what-
that we can.
People brought things up, I'm just making sure when we look at this
I don't
motion,
think that
we,
they're overly expensive that we can't just buy.
Yeah.
One thing, but maybe it's separate from the fence, I'll bring it up after.
okay. So right now, the motion on the table is to approve the installation of a fence similar to what is on the other side currently, which is the black coated chain link fence, to start from where the raised wall is on one side, to go around the back and come back to the other side, with a distance still to be determined, because we have to determine what state regulations require and what is considered a safe distance, but not to exceed the contingency still left in the budget, which is $9,215. That's the motion on the, right now. We've got a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. I will send a note to the town administrator, copy Chris Huntress, copy the committee, and let know that we'd like to proceed with getting a chain link fence that extends out, and try to get a meeting with Chris as soon as we can, just to make sure he's clear on what we're looking at, and to try to get an idea, knowing that it cannot exceed, in this case, I'll keep it at 9, so at least we keep the $200, not to exceed $9,000.
Bravo, well done.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Fieldhouse Security. David, you,
Can I bring up something about the fence, or is that new business?
is it about the same thing?
It's about the basketball.
Then keep it, go ahead.
I think we need to think about some kind of signage with some basic rules about the court. And I don't really know exactly what yet, but like when we had that one group that was clearly doing an instructional clinic before the court was open from another town, you know, obviously that was kind of bypassing our system that we are going to be put in place, and I think it might be nice to have some kind of signage that, one, maybe has hours, and two, maybe says something to the effect that if you're an organized sport, you need to go through the recreation committee.
Yeah.
So, just an initial thought.
I agree, I also think that it's necessary to have signage. I think, David, you mentioned one time the kid was throwing the football, it might have been Mike,
I did.
throwing the football at the backstop. The other thing I think we all have to be aware of is that kids will set up and play street hockey on rollerblades on that court too, and I think that's something we need to put a sign up saying that no rollerblading, no, you know, basically floor hockey is allowed on this court, because that will have a problem with those
Blades
tires.
could could
You
damage
know,
the tires.
so they'll be shooting, so I think that's something that we really have to kind of make sure that we put on that, as far as the, you know, that's a basic no-no, that, we don't wanna set up a goal at each end and start kids in their rollerblades flying around with hockey sticks.
Alicia, does this have to be something that the town has to approve? Or is this something that we can approve and just get done?
I think the signs have to go through, we have a sign bylaw. So I think I would come up with what you want and submit it to the select board. And then they'll vote on it.
Okay, do we wanna do that right now, or do you wanna have that ready for the next meeting? We can
Probably get
either
on
word
it
it up.
sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think we can probably, I mean, it depends on what we want the signage to say. We obviously want it to say no floor hockey, no hockey allowed, no,
Dave, would you do me a favor and put together a sign, what you feel based on your experience, vast experience,
okay,
what you think it is, and get it back up to the committee, and then we'll get it to the town administrator.
I'll get something together.
And do we roughly wanna say any organized,
Yep,
Yeah, clinics or instructional
yep, instructional usage or clinical
needs to
usage,
be
yeah.
approved by the,
Newbury Recreation?
And then I think that you have to dovetail this into the policy that you're gonna be
Yes.
creating too.
Yeah.
It'll all be part of one thing.
Yep.
And also, you were talking about time restrictions. I think that, I wouldn't say sunrise to sunset, but I would say like 9 to sunset, which would keep the neighbors happy and,
Yep.
then, cause someone could bring up artificial lighting and play.
And no dogs, no pets.
which has been tough, because I've seen dogs cutting through
Oh, yeah.
a few times already, just so they're coming through, and I'm like, they're just running through because it's a new smell, but they're not like they're hanging out and stuff. But
Maybe your fence will help with that.
Yeah.
we're not gonna close the fence, so that's the reason why I wouldn't be there.
No, but maybe,
Yeah.
Oh, on the other side, yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, they'll still find because they were at the
Yeah.
ramp, and this dog was out there, literally walked right up the ramp, walked around, and then walked up the other side, so. Thank you, David.
Yep, okay.
Anything else regarding the basketball court? Okay, Fieldhouse security.
Well,
Yeah.
I reached out to both, this is a while ago, so I don't know if anything's been changed since then, but, I think from what the DPW said, they were looking to have a manual clock that just, instead of having people go and unlock it and having codes and all sorts of stuff, something that would open at, let's say our time was 8 to 5, it would open at 8 and lock at 5. And I think that's what they were gunning for, but they were talking about also, there was a broken handle on the door, and they were trying to get that fixed. I don't know, did you notice a broken handle at all with?
I was on vacation last week, but the woman who went there didn't say anything about it.
I haven't
But that
seen,
was on
on the
Wednesday.
two, on either door, I haven't seen the handle that was broken, so,
Yeah, that was in the,
they may have already fixed it, if that was the case. So,
Is TPW opening it up now during the weekends?
I haven't seen anything yet, no, not that I'm aware of.
that was brought up, but I don't know if that happened.
'Cause I'd like to get, I mean, people wanna use the bathrooms, I mean, at that point, the town administrator did say that the DPW would be the ones cleaning it, so, I can send an email to the town administrator saying, can we please have the DPW open the facilities? But the problem is right now the locks aren't set, so unless we have a way to unlock these, I don't think there's even a lock to undo it.
He said, I'm going to see if I can get this is, James Surratt. He said, I am going to see if I can get a programmable lock that doesn't need an app, we just program it. So,
Would you do me a favor and just follow up with him and see if you've had any success on that, and when you think you can have that done, so we can let the groups that are using it, and just email the group back after.
All right.
Please, thank you. On to new business. The fee schedule, the change as of spring 2022, we had told the groups that we would not change pricing for 2 years. If you can believe it, it's already been 2 years. I do understand with the lost seasons, with, due to the pandemic, we can discuss whether we wanna extend it or we wanna do it, but we did give 2 years time frame. We didn't, when we voted on it, we did not factor that into the equation, so. We certainly at the time, and David has made comments, I have made comments regarding the field usage, and a lot of the times I go by and knowing that the fields are booked solid every day, all fields, and there's a lot of times there's nobody on it. And I understand that that does depend on game schedules and different things, but still, there was never a discussion about notifying us about when they wouldn't need it, so they're technically paying for it, so whether they use it or not, that's entirely their prerogative, but I would like it to, I'd rather them not give us the money and have the field to be usable for other people. So the question is, do we want to increase the fee prices, and if so, to what? Or do we want to extend it for another year because we lost the year? It's kind of where we stand right now.
Regardless of the fee increase or not, my thought about the fields, if we had some kind of, we rewrote the policy to say something to the fact that if after a period of time, let's say 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the hour that they block from 9 to 5, so let's say 3 o'clock comes along and they have it for an hour or whatever, if no one has used the field for the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, no one's on that field actually using it, they still pay for it, but that becomes open. We can do something like that space becomes open for people who want to use it.
That would be, we would have to then change the policy at that point.
Actually, no. I disagree with you, Michael, on that. There's two separate things with that. Anytime you have a non-exclusive use for property, it means the public has access to that until such time the permitted user comes.
Okay.
So if they don't show up on a Saturday at 9 o'clock, I can use it all day long until they come. And if they don't come, I get to use it the whole time to do whatever I want. We also had in our policy, which we haven't enforced, was that if they do not plan on using it, and it's in the application, they're supposed to give us 24-hour notice so that we could release the field. So if somebody called up and said, hey, we need it. 24 hours notice doesn't give people a lot of time, granted, but there's rules already in place that allow that to happen.
I'm all for a fee increase. I think that, it hasn't, if you take a look at the general amount that we started off, it was per person, and then we went to hourly, and that rate increase in general terms from before, when it was per person to where it became hourly, wasn't a huge change for anyone. And my thought is that we should make it applicable to other areas, other cities, other towns. That's my thought.
What's the objective of raising the rates? What's the end goal?
One end goal is maybe they won't take the fields from 9 in the morning until 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And I know that we're getting money for it one way or another, but we're still fighting, or at least I feel like we're still fighting a system that we're in charge of the fields, but we're not really in charge of the fields. The whole situation with them just leaving nets all season long, including the summer, I think that it gives us a little bit more power. And I just think that I don't believe that we're charging enough money. I guess that in general terms. And if you don't think that's the situation, you should have made some of the calls I made before and found out what other people are charging and how we were way, way, way low compared to fields that were not actually lined, they were just roughly cut. I think it's a bargain. And I don't wanna increase prices just to increase prices, but, you know, so that we bring in more money to the town, but I think that,
Our expenses have gone up.
yeah, should we just leave it the same price for the next 10 years? I don't know, I don't think that's appropriate.
That's why we said we wouldn't touch it for 2 years. We didn't wanna feel like we were doing it just to raise money, we were doing it to at least show that we're being good partners in that regards to our current vendors, and users of the field. I feel it needs to be increased, and I think it to be responsible, it's something even nominal, just something to see, but anybody else have any opinions?
Well, I guess I'm a little confused.
Mark, I don't want, you certainly can say what you want,
I'm a-
but don't go, are you in favor or you're not? That's kind of the question I'd like to know.
Well, I think it's a discussion we should be having, and one of the discussions I want to ask is, if we go ahead and raise the rate $2 more an hour, and they still end up reserving the same amount of time,
Okay?
does that solve what you're trying to do? The other question is, you say our expenses have gone up without having a plan. I can think in a very general sense, but you know, fiscal responsibility, if that's what we're talking about, we should have a spending plan in place so we know how much money we should be generating to if our goal is to, and I think it should be, cost recovery, then we can say this is the amount. Otherwise, we could be raising more money than it costs to take care of the property.
Well, the other part is, let's say that we do that. Let's say that we went from, I don't know what it is right now, 7 and 10.
6 and 15.
6 and 15, and we went up to 15 and 35. And all of a sudden we had all this income coming in, and so all of a sudden the rec committee has an additional, at the end of the year, an additional $90,000. Well, guess what? That's being a lot of money to put towards a playground or
We
something.
don't get that money, it goes back into the.
I know, but it's something that we can, let's say that we go, this is, you know, we're at town meeting and we wanna get $90,000 for a field. We come and we say, hey, we bring a certain amount of money to the town, we're bringing income in, and I think it's, again, if you go back 5 years ago, it was a bunch of fields. If you go back now, we have a basketball court, we have a field house, we have bathrooms, it's changed off, it looks beautiful, so my feeling is there has to be some kind of rate increase.
Well, again, I have no issue with a rate increase if we knew how much money, that on a spending plan, how much we're spending.
Mr. Chair, I think one thing that you may also want to consider is putting some money aside every year into a special account to replace these tiles on this court over time, so that it doesn't.
But that's out of our $50,000 budget that we have each year, that if we don't use unless we set up so if you're saying we need to set up an account from that 50,000 to put it aside for it?
Well, I'm just saying earmark some of that money. I mean, I think what Mark is saying makes sense, because I thought we had a spending plan at one point.
We did.
Yeah,
Well,
We went through it, so what do we expend each year based off of?
Alicia, we worked on it, you, Michael, and I
yeah.
started it, and then it's stopped.
We sat in a meeting and sat in one of these meetings and did it as well, and put it on the board and said, here's what our expenses look to be.
And they've changed because cleaning costs has decreased.
But we should be having that in many organizations that I'm involved with, I'm sure other people, organizations, even before your fiscal year starts, you have an idea of what you're getting and you have a plan, so you're not saying, oh, I have extra money or we haven't accounted for 30% of our appropriation.
I have it right here. It was from November 4th, 2019. We looked at our monthly operating expenses for G. Mello, D. Filippo, Townsend Oil, Septic, porta potties, cleaning supplies, mowing, alarm system, electric, fire, cleaning service, wireless connection, software system, furniture, water bill, based on all the figures that we had pulled together at that meeting, the total amount was just over $36,000, leaving us a budget about $14,000. Yes, we should probably look at those numbers and see, have they gone up, have they gone down?
And what is it?
And to see at that point what has gone up and what's gone down, what can we possibly trim? I mean, looking at the cleaning service supplies and all that, in the cleaning service, I said that's $500 in cleaning supplies and $7,200 a year in the cleaning service, because it was $600 a week
And
that
the
we were spending.
DPW is doing that now, right?
And according to the town administrator, yes, they would do it, once we open, we haven't opened it yet,
Yeah.
again. So we need to get that resolved, we need to get the lock situation resolved, so people have access in and out, and once that's done, then we can get the place open, because I want it open to help people as well,
Right.
but we need to get that done, but that's $7,500 that we can take out of that, and now we're back down to $29,000, leaving us 22 that we can do things with. The last couple of years, though, we took out $19,000 last year for the basketball court. The year before, we had to take out, or 2 years before that, we had to take out $29,000 for the extra roof. So we were a little hampered in regards to what we needed to do. The year in the middle there, we had COVID, so things were very restricted regarding what we can do. So the last 3 years have been a little difficult, so 2021 and 22. Since we've done this, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, so now we're coming out of the dark, let's hope, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And we can, update that.
But you figure right off the bat, we're spending approximately $30,000 to $35,000 of our annual budget that we're allotted on expenses for the field house, the field, and all that. I mean, the mowing service we have listed is $15,000. I think the mowing service may be a little bit more than that. That was a quick number of $12.50 a month that we were projecting. I go back into looking at what the town actually submitted. It may be a little higher, maybe a little bit lower, but looking back over it.
So, what's your point, Mark? You wanna look at what the difference, the expenses, they get budgeted $50,000 a year, they spend 36, you wanna look at the difference, where we're gonna spend that?
I think fiscal responsibility dictates that we have a spending plan. If we're being appropriated $50,000 and we only end up spending $30,000 a year, I think many taxpayers are saying, why are you getting $20 to go back into another fund?
Well, it stays in the fund, you have a revolving fund, it doesn't go anyplace else.
Okay.
And it's for recreational purposes.
Okay. Why are we using that to accumulate and use it as a bank? It's one thing that
That isn't the intention. The
I know,
intention is-
But as Alicia said, the bad part about it is, if we wanted to set, that basketball court is gonna need maintenance in 7-8 years. It's gonna, just to continue it on and on and on. So if we have that money banked up, then it won't be a surprise, right? I mean, I don't know if the town will allow us to use it in that manner, but.
Well, if it's in the recreation revolving fund, yeah, you'd have to appropriate it at town meeting. It would be a separate warrant article to appropriate X amount of dollars from the recreation revolving fund for the purpose of replacing VersaCourt tires. That would be.
Which we would hope at that point would not be an issue, because we're trying to be prudent in regards to what we have. Again, if you're talking about putting money aside,
Yeah.
putting it aside for it.
One other thing I want you to think about, I don't know if you can do it right now, you want to add it to another agenda, I think it should be added to another agenda, is to look at recreational opportunities, like, at the whole town level. And I don't know if you want to work with Chris Huntress on that. I know the town administrator has a line, engineering expenditures, you have to work with her to see where that line item is this year, but where you're plugging away at those fields, I think that to look at it town-wide, what you'd like to have, and have him come up with a plan, I think
Okay.
that would be a good idea. I don't know if you want to add that to another agenda and have the town administrator come in.
Well, we finish this project,
Explain
that
to
maybe
you.
the next thing to do, we want him to say thank you for his work and his partnership in getting this done, and then see what else we can do.
What are you suggesting as far as townwide?
a basketball court in Olga Way. So the residents on the island have another place to go other than the
Yeah.
far end.
Yeah,
Well, that's one
Dave, what
thing
do
you
you
can
think?
do.
Do we have jurisdiction there?
Well, this is what we need
Well,
the town, we need the town administrator for, but the recreation committee isn't just, and what may need that that the select board has to change the charge of the recreation committee, but you're not just stewards of that one place. You
Well,
should be
right now,
recreational
technically we are.
opportunities. Yeah, so that has to change.
It's not the charge that needs to be changed. What we need is a line item separate from, or change the wording. It was changed, I think, in 2019, that restricted our funds to Mantor, Central Street Fields, and Kent Way.
Yeah.
That's where the problem lies.
So this needs to be addressed, so I think we need to get this out so that you guys can, because I think the town of Newbury, you know, coming out of COVID, people want to do a lot of recreational outdoor activities. And there's the canoe trail you were looking at back there, there's passive recreation.
Point of clarification in terms of process. One is releasing the funds, the restricted funds that are appropriated at the town from just Kent Way and Central Street to more townwide activities. Would a separate line item be required to hire and or run programming? Or could we word
Well,
that
that
so
would have
that?
to be part of the conversation, because I think programming is needed. I think you guys have talked about that before.
We also talked about having somebody manage at the town level the calendar. And
Right, and that could come out of the budget too. I don't know where Matt stands for looking at the calendar, I haven't heard, I don't know if you've heard anything, Mike.
No. He's supposed to be working towards that, because we figured it was, I can't remember off the top of my head. At the last meeting, we were saying our budget, the number, it was either the number of users or something, that we fell into that second tier, and it was gonna be so much money per year. I apologize off the top of my head.
Yeah, you're right, I'll follow up with Tracy on that. Lucy, what do you think? Do you have any ideas of what the town needs for recreational opportunities? What would you like to see as a high school kid?
I think the basketball courts cover a lot. There's a lot of talk about those in school
There's a lot of talk about that in the school?
from Everett. Other than that, you mentioned the cross-country trail and the metal sheet. There's that on the topic of Triton. And people usually go to Newburyport if they're gonna hang out.
Is there any interest at all in volleyball? Like if there was like a sand volleyball court, is that something that, I know that college kids like to do that, but is that something that high school kids, or is that just, that's not thought?
I haven't heard anything about that, but
Is there a sanitation issue with that?
Maybe with cats, but I don't know.
I mean, there's pickleball too.
Yeah. I think that the discussion has to probably go in the direction before we start to talk about what we'd like to see citywide is, I think, and this is just my own opinion, since I've been on the committee, I do feel as though this committee is really the oversee committee for Mantor Fields. And that's what we've focused on completely. I do think that a recreation committee for a town or a recreation department should oversee all of it. And have ideas and be able to, so there was an email that went through, I think from the Byfield Newberry Little League.
Yep, I have it right here.
And there was all kinds of questions about, he needs work, he needs this, he needs that, he needs this, it's, the mound's been washed out, the rubber on the mound sticking up 1.5 feet, and all of the things that he was concerned with. But again, it's not our jurisdiction, or it's not our place to go and inspect and see what it needs, or to be able to put a plan together. And even Tracy, when she answered, she said, we'll find out what he needs and get back to us. But I don't, at this point in time, that's not our jurisdiction to find out what Byfield or the Newberry Little League needs. Because there's somebody else in charge of all that. And I think what's happened is when you fragment, excuse me, when you fragment a lot of these facilities and their jurisdiction is fragmented between different people and different groups, the only time we see or hear is when there's need. We don't see or hear because we're really not involved in the nurturing or the planning or the event planning or things to help cross-utilization in a lot of those areas. And they've been kind of categorized and being controlled by certain groups that only allow certain things to take place on those facilities. So I think by really looking at this committee and saying, what should our true mission be to be able to really serve the town of Newbury and the recreation, not just the facilities and the planning, but the recreation planning for the future. Because right now, we can sit here and talk about what we can do over the next 5 years or the next 10 years, but we can't go down and say we'd like to improve this Little League over here and give them a new backstop or give them a new fence or help them rebuild their pitches mound. It's really not part of what we're allowed to do. So I think there should come a time where, and I think, you know, the accomplishment of the basketball court should send a message out to the whole town that this committee is capable of getting things done, that this committee can propose things and have a follow-through and see that things get completed. And I think this is probably the best time for this committee to step forward and say, either we are or we're not. And if you want a committee to be the overseeing committee of Manta Fields, put a small group together, just like you have a small group that takes care of the Little League, and a small group that takes care of the other facilities. But if you want a recreation committee for the town of Newbury, then the recreation committee should be overseeing the complete, and all of the facilities and all of what the potential is of each facility. And it should not be controlled by small little pockets of group that think they own that facility. And that's just my
Alright, leave
opinion.
that with me, I don't know if that has to happen at town meeting or what, but
Okay.
I think that's the natural progression step
Right.
to go forward, that will solve the Chris Huntress overarching idea and all that stuff, so leave that one with me.
Okay,
And just to add to that, I don't want to step on anybody's
Yeah.
toes, but when you say recreation for the town of Newbury, it's not just youth sports,
No,
it's
no, that's my point.
It's
old
every-
that's why
people.
Cindy's here.
Yeah,
It's everybody, that's my point, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
I
a
was gonna
senior.
say, I was gonna say, I could send out a survey to see like different options, like volleyball court.
Yeah,
yeah.
Have a-
what would people like to see within reason, and I think by listing 3, 4 options with an other, and then see what you get back for it, would be huge, that would be
Yeah.
very beneficial to the group to say, okay, we came in, we created our policies and redid everything, and, okay, we can check that off, then we finished the field house off, we can check that off, now we've got the basketball court, and that's 99% checked off. Okay, what can we work on next? And whether it's pulling all these projects together and doing it, and having it under one roof. If it's, I mean, we also got the website, we're in the process of the scheduling, to try to make that a little more user-friendly and easy for people to use.
You need a couple more policies.
So then now we have 2 more policies that we're gonna need to work on.
So question for you, Alicia, as far as policies go, can we end up, I mean, is this something that's viable if Celine has a couple ideas, Dave has a couple ideas, and we move down the aisle and we say, okay, I think that it should be open between 9 and 5. This person should need to do this, no alcohol, blah, 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 put that down. But is there someone from the town that can take that and say, yeah, this is legal, this is not? Because we went through that whole situation
Oh, it would go
about.
through town council, yeah.
But instead of us sitting here
Yeah.
and creating this document top to bottom and having to keep going back and forth, it's,
Do you want a template? Is that what you're asking me for?
that's most likely yes.
I think what I'm hearing is if we could just send our snippets, is that?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so what
here's my
happens?
ideas, Mark's ideas, can you make sure these are okay? Okay, these are all good, or no, this is all way off base, Mark.
Because when we were doing the policy, I think for the field, or one of the original
field
field house, I mean, we sat there and it was a certain point, like, you know,
Yeah.
we were losing it because we
Yeah.
didn't know,
I remember, I was there for the whole
Yeah.
thing. Let me
um,
see if I can find you a template.
yeah, and that way we can at least,
Me,
It would take a
Carolyn, and
big
Costa
chunk
must
of
have a
our-
template somewhere.
a big chunk of our time and angst, and we could spend that time saying, hey, let's do something for high school kids or junior high school kids, and, you know, that direction instead of being stuck with policy. So,
Because realistically, this policy, in doing this for both the basketball court and for the field house, if we dedicated the time just for that, we'd be spending the next 3-4 months just working on that alone.
I know, to come.
And nothing on the project, not that we don't have, I mean, it is coming into,
Did we start the field house? I'm gonna print it off when I,
we did start discussing it, but nothing ever got approved, or nothing got to that point. And we could probably take a lot of the same ideas for that, from the field to the field house to the basketball court. It's just a matter of applying the different pricing structure, usage, hours, regulations. I mean, I would hope. Been a while since I've done something like this.
Okay.
Which leads us into, so we still have the fee schedule change as of spring of 2022. That's actually the item right now that we were discussing and kind of got off target here. So, do we want to increase the price? Do we want to keep it the same? Do we want to delay it 6 months and wait till the fall? I'd like to get a kind of an idea what direction you guys want to go with either of those. So, yes, a price increase. No, not delay it till the fall. Of those three options.
Here's my concern, out of respect to if we're looking to implement it for the spring, or are you looking to?
Oh, I was looking to implement it for the spring because that's what we told them, we would hold prices for 2 years. And that would, the 2-year mark would be for the spring.
Out of courtesy to those programs that are already doing the registration have set their fees for the spring. I know whether it's the soccer program, lacrosse program, they started their registration process for the spring. So they're banking on certain numbers. Now we could just ignore them and do what we want, or we come up with numbers and say these are going to be applied beginning the fall, assuming we get it done by, say, January of 22, implemented for the fall of 22.
Does this price increase have to go through the select board? Or is it what we have, we decide? I'm just
How
curious,
do you
because that's
do
a
it?
big
I
thing,
forget
is
how
we
we
have
did
to
it.
approve it and then they have to do it? That's a different
Do you
question.
remember how we did it last time?
I don't think we did, that's what I'm saying, I don't think we had to have the select board approve it.
I don't think so either, I
I
don't
thought-
remember approving it.
I think we
We
did.
approved policies.
We did policy.
But is the fee structure in the policy?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Then we
we
did.
had to go to the meeting and we discussed about changing, and they thought it was a good idea at
Okay.
that point.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't
based on that and Mark's conversation, I think we need to have pricing put in place for January between for our next meeting, I would like to have everybody's either an idea of yes and no on the price increase. 2, if you're saying yes, what do you think what do you think is appropriate, whether it's nominal or not? I mean,
What's it right now? 7?
6 and 15.
Six.
6 for the youth sports for the Triton program, 15 for any program that is outside, that is, we consider as like a retail or a for-profit organization.
Again, I mean, if you look at it, it seems like, okay, we're really raising prices, but if you look at the general, a field for $6 and you have 20 kids playing on it, it comes out to cents per kid for that thing. So I don't think it's going to.
And it's funny because I had a conversation with Triton Youth Soccer and I had no idea that they were having very, under 8 years of age, are having sub-clinics on the sideline, between the sidelines and the stone wall. And they had all these little soccer nets hooked up there. That was kind of surprising when I heard how many people they have there on a Saturday. I was surprised when I heard they said sometimes they have up to 150 kids.
Yeah, all the fields are being utilized this past Saturday, I forgot at what times I drove.
And Sunday they weren't.
And then even
There was a
later
couple that
on
were
that
used
day.
on Sunday, but not all day.
Yeah,
I mean, both these fields are booked all day, so. So, for the next meeting, please, everybody come back with, do you want to have them increased, and if yes, to what?
Are we saying that this increase would occur in the fall because we have to have town approval?
Yes. Knowing that we're gonna have to go back to the
We're not
town.
gonna get this in time for this.
No, we will not have, no, it doesn't have to have town approval, it's gotta go through the select board, so we'd have to approve it and then get the select board done. So if we did ours in November, let's say at the next meeting, we approved it, then we could get it in the approved, whatever, one of the next 2 meetings after that, hopefully by Thanksgiving, and then notify the groups, so they would know before January 1st that these can be done.
For
what?
fall.
For the fall of 2022.
So we're skipping spring, and we're going to fall.
Based on the information and the fact that we still have 2 meetings to go to, so unless we can come up with a number tonight and get it approved and then get it to the select board before the end of the month, I don't think it's fair in that regards.
The only thing I would suggest is, Mark made a good point that the Springs, and they're already starting to put their fees together themselves. We should probably send out a list, an email or a letter to them, just reminding them that there's a possibility of a price increase due to the agreement that we're on to our second year, and that there's a possibility. So at least if they're aware, and you can say it'll be coming in the fall.
I will send an email to Triton Youth Soccer and to Rush to say this is potentially coming,
Right.
and it would be effective with the fall 2022 season.
Yeah, that's why nobody's surprised.
Exactly.
Yeah, again, I go back to when this happened the last time, we were talking about changing the fees, and I'm just worried about what's gonna happen. We stated at that point, we're going from per person hourly, and some of the groups came out and told their parents that we were kicking them off the field. And it was never said in any of our meetings, it was never thought of in any of our meetings, and it came out that way. So I don't wanna seem like we're trying to,
The one saving grace is that camera right there has everything done so they can realize, no, that is not our intention, we're not here, this is not a money grab. This is just being good stewards of our program based on the expenses that have increased or what they have increased, that we're just doing it. We told them we would give them 2 years,
give them 2.5.
we're giving them an extra 6 months now. So that is the plan for that piece for the next meeting, so we'll make sure we're all set there. Unfortunately, I don't think we have an Alicia on the field house and basketball court policies. We're gonna try to see if we can get us a
I'm gonna
template,
get templates.
that we can go from there. I will re-email, I'm gonna actually reach out to the accountant saying, here's what we are projected for our expenses. Can you confirm what they've been for the last 2 years to see if we're in the ballpark? And then in November, I will come in, before the November meeting, I will send out the spreadsheet saying, here is the current numbers, so we can talk about it. We're past COVID, hopefully, and we can start talking about what we want to do with the money that the town is appropriate to us.
And Lucian, I'll take a closer look at the document when you have a chance to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
the report's.
You guys have all had the field house thing, I sent it out.
What is it that you sent, Lucian?
I sent an email out to all the towns in Essex
Yeah,
asking if they have basketball courts, what their prices were,
oh, okay.
who helps run them and all that.
I know I saw the email, I just haven't
Yep.
read it yet.
And then
Okay.
And
two-
he's
two
got,
got
I mean,
back, so.
we were,
Thank you for that.
You almost have to call. I mean, when I did it
Yeah.
for the fields, I called.
A lot of conversations.
It's not apples to apples.
Yeah.
They all do it differently, so
It's a little overwhelming.
it's a matter of researching, but, I mean, we have Newburyport, Beverly, Amesbury,
Let's get some of them our size.
I don't think
Salisbury,
there's
Raleigh.
as many towns our size that have a
Well,
beautiful court like that, is there?
Yeah, I looked into Beverly, and Beverly has an apples for apples court, field. They have, a soccer field that size-wise is like ours, and they have a field house that's not as nice as ours. So that's where, when it went apples for apples.
What about West Newbury? They have that court. The court is where we called it the Castle Park. My kids.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
what you
Action
mean.
Cove.
Yeah,
Action
Action
Cove.
Cove.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I think baseball.
Yeah,
There's a
are-
baseball field there.
Yeah.
But they put in it over near the Action Cove.
Oh,
That was,
yes.
It's a great
that was
baseball.
where we based this work on.
Yeah.
That's,
The last thing I have on the agenda is we received an application from Ryan Kelly, a resident of Byfield, for, give me a second. Someone wants to rent the area in front of the field house and use the field house on Wednesday, October 20th. They only wanna use the field house as the bathrooms just so they can get changed. It's a photo shoot. The person's name is Robert Packard, Packert, from Danvers. They're looking to use the field house from 9 until 5 that day. In
Is
the
that
area front,
involved you guys?
for a photo shoot,
What was the date? Wednesday, October?
20th.
Which is,
Which we know, it's the only, I was trying to get them away from Wednesday, just that, but they said they don't need the main area, they just needed the bathrooms, and they can stay away from that area during your time.
Okay.
So,
did they have their application in? Because I didn't see it.
sorry, the application's right here. I received it before, and that's why I posted it on the agenda. I can send it to you all right now, so you can all have it.
Yeah, that'd be good. What are they photo shooting?
I don't know if it's closed, whatever, but
The reason I asked, Alicia, I think the town would, and again, this is a hypothetical, I don't anticipate it, but I think there are certain restrictions that the town would have about using the property to promote certain types of activities, whether they're legal or not. I know, for example, in school, are you allowed to wear clothing that promote alcohol? You know, some
I
schools,
assume not.
some places say, you know, schools, you can't have marijuana on your shirt. Does the town have any restrictions about any, what's the word I'm looking for? Types of activities that go on their property?
Well, I don't think you can drink in public.
It's not a consumption, it's promoting, because this is a photo shoot.
Yeah.
you're
I don't
promoting-
believe the town of Newbury does, because it's First Amendment rights there. So,
Be careful with First Amendment, because at schools, you can't do certain things.
yeah, but you're not in school right
I
now.
understand that.
So, if, the schools are different, because they're a separate municipality, so they have different rules. But the
So
town of
please don't use
Newbury-
First Amendment.
Well, but the
Well,
town of
you were talking
Newbury,
about the field.
yeah, you're talking about the field house. That's a town thing, and I don't think there's any, the town's not gonna try to restrict First Amendment rights or anything, so.
Okay.
I mean, if they do anything illegal, that's, won't be, you know.
No, it's just, I know that in some towns, you can't have signage, like on a ball field, that promotes alcohol, like in a Little League field.
Yeah,
So that's a First Amendment issue, but
Well,
the
we
town
don't
has
have-
rules.
but we don't
That's what I'm
have-
saying, I'm trying to trying to put it out there.
yeah.
We don't know what this person's doing, but we're gonna approve it.
Well, they're having the photo shoot. Well, there's an
Of what?
application there, there's, yeah, what does
The
the
application
application say?
the application does not mention anything. There's a insurance form, and the application is just asking for the field in the front, and I'm actually trying to get the details as we speak. I've got the person on Facebook right now that I'm trying to get with. All they ask for is the area near the field house for a photo shoot.
What's the spelling of the last name?
So are you saying that if they're doing anything
P-A-C-K-E-R-T.
distasteful, is that your concern?
I don't know if it's distasteful, I think the better word is anything that the town would prohibit.
I don't believe you prohibit it.
Here is the
It's not
actual
illegal.
information I just received. It's for a job for my friend, the photographer. He's a photographer, a middle-aged woman relaxing on a lawn chair, reading a magazine to use for promotion for a new condo unit in the state. No alcohol, no nudity, nothing besides just some advertising. That's exactly what is being said.
There you go,
There you go.
So,
Just seeking clarity.
yeah. Maybe we should, ask that, what's the purpose of
in the future reference, yes. We didn't in this one, so I gotta go by what we're using, so. So the question now is, do we approve this? We're charging $15 an hour. They were talking 9 to 5, so 8 hours times 15 is $120. We have a certificate of insurance as well on file. So I would like to make a motion to accept the application based on the parameters that we have.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. I'll let them know. And explain to them, make sure everything's clear. Other than that, so the takeaways for our next meeting, we want to make sure, I'm going to reach out to Chris and see if I can, one, have him join us. But we are going to proceed with the fence as long as it does not exceed the cost of $9,000. And to also meet with him, David, if you would care to join me, we'll try and set up a meeting, get down there to get that laid out to make sure we know where they're looking at and what is recommended and also follow state guidelines.
Yeah.
Should we do a ribbon cutting ceremony of some
Yeah, I
sort?
think once that fence is complete.
Yep.
I'm gonna reach out to the paper, because I know Mike hasn't gotten very,
They did not
Fine.
respond.
so, I'll reach out to the paper and we'll organize that.
Okay,
But I don't think it would be better if that snow fence was gone.
okay, excellent.
So that's one thing. Alicia, you're gonna work with us on getting us a template for the
Yeah.
policies.
I'm gonna talk DPW.
Yes, and then everybody else is going to just come back with their thoughts regarding the fee changes. I will reach out to both groups and let them know that this is a possibility for the fall of 2022. And I will also reach out to the town accountant to try to see if we can get an idea regarding expenses. The only thing left to discuss is the meeting date.
Well, last meeting, a couple of things did not get, that were on the agenda, did not get forwarded, for like the canoe launch and stuff.
I didn't get it on this agenda because I didn't think we were gonna have time at the time, so. Unless you wanna add something to the agenda, which I don't know if we can at this point.
No,
If you wanna give us a very brief update, I'm fine with it.
it didn't make it to the agenda, so
Okay.
it's not time sensitive.
Then,
It's just usually when there's something that's on the agenda and not met at the meeting, it usually transfers without question to the next meeting, to the next agenda.
I pulled it because I thought it was based on what we had, because I thought we were gonna be spending more time on the policies, but then we spent more time talking about the other pieces, so, due to time restrictions. So I will add it back onto the next meeting.
Thank you.
Council on Aging, are they using that Mantra Field space? Are you growing and more people?
We're growing, so we're gonna start, the middle of this month, we're adding another class on Mondays, but we're eventually hopefully gonna have something every day.
Good.
Just make sure for the next meeting
I'll have dates.
that we have the next thing, because you're good through the 24th of
Yeah,
November.
yeah.
Can I just ask really quick?
Yes,
for
please.
ideas for the survey, beach volleyball courts, sand, you mentioned pickleball.
Yep.
Anything else?
I know they're using it in the report outside of I thought they were using it in the racket club, they're actually using it out in the parking lot, they actually have it up there, which I was,
Do we have a skate park in town?
New report, middle
the
school.
report has theirs at the elementary school.
Is
The
that,
little-
you throw that on the list? I know it's
Skate park.
stupid,
Yeah, no,
yeah, and
I
I
mean,
think
I've heard a dog park.
dog park?
but the skate
That's
park would
fine.
be one of those things, I know that.
Park, what do you think?
Yeah.
Frisbee team.
How are you gonna do the survey, Lucian?
Google form, sent out to the school email.
Okay,
I'll ask with the administration.
Just be Newbury, is it just Newbury? Or Triton?
I can specify that this is for the town of Newbury
yeah.
and still pull from people from Salisbury and Raleigh
Might have ideas.
if they want to
I mean,
travel to Newbury to do such things.
well, the other thing too is their ideas would be good as well, too. I mean, it's just, it's really, this survey is really about presenting us with ideas which might be, possible for us to do, so, I mean, you can talk to the coaches, you could talk to the kids, any of the kids at high school could probably come up with some good ideas.
One of you mentioned a playground, I can't remember which, but, I mean, a lot of,
That's, yeah,
a lot of kids that come, they are seeing their older siblings play and
yeah, that's a big thing.
it's a
Yeah.
big
No, it's been
That,
on,
yeah,
Yeah, that's-
I think
Yeah.
that might be
that was
on
right
the
after the
horizon,
basketball
basketball,
court.
yeah.
but,
I apologize real quick, I was just told that it's 8 to 5, not 9 to 5, they need the field house for that day for the application, so I've adjusted it, that it'll be $135 will be the total fee. Just so everybody's aware.
It's a long photo shoot.
Yeah.
Should we revote on it? Does it change?
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the 8 to 5 hour instead of the 9 to 5 hour?
second,
Okay, any discussion? I apologize, they just let me know. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. I'll make sure we get it paid, and I'll coordinate the code so they can get in that day to use it. Next meeting is, based on our schedule plan, will be November 1st. It's the first Monday of the month. Anybody have a problem?
Speechless.
November 1st?
November 1st, next month, it's the first Monday of the month.
What happened this year?
I
It
know,
went right by.
I know.
We were talking about November, I'm like, we're still in October, and it's just like, where'd that come from?
You know what, I think that everyone will reset next year, we'll get back to taking that first step. So Monday, November 1st?
Yes. Hey,
I'm waiting.
oh, you can't turn it off yet?
I know.
Okay, oh, that's your. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so 6 o'clock on the 1st. One more thing real quick, and Newbury Field Day, or Newbury Day.
Town Day.
Town Days, thank you. I apologize, I'm waiting on the committee. Is looking to have something at the Central Street Fields, which I'm going to reach out to the schools and to the athletic department at Triton, and actually I'm hoping I can get them involved, so where they'd like to do, maybe some of the kids, whether for them it would be huge because it would be their service hours, they can use it for the day and get some time where if they set up games and instructional things from their various sports and use the field that day, that we can have it.
What day is it?
The day of the event is
June
June
18th.
18th, with a rain date of the next day, which unfortunately is Father's Day.
It's not graduation.
No, graduation would be a couple weeks before that.
It's usually the first weekend in June.
No, June 18th is,
No,
oh, graduation's the
graduation's
first,
usually
yes.
the first weekend.
Yeah. But, so I'm, just so everybody's aware, if we're able to help out, that will be something brought up.
We'll have to
And-
block off that time too.
Yeah, to make sure everybody realizes that day is gonna be on the calendar for the next spring.
So when the field applications come in for the spring,
They
that
can't use-
day is
We gotta make
blocked.
sure everybody understands that's one day, either they have to be done before it or realize that one day they'll be out, because they'll be using the field that day.
Can I make a suggestion that an email goes out to our normal vendors, alerting them now?
I'll let them know along with the other email then, so I'll give them both points. And then lastly, at our next meeting, I have been notified that there is a Boy Scout from Troop 44 here in Newbury that is looking to do his Eagle Project at the field house, or to do at the field. He, from what I've been told, and it's just brief information, but he'll be giving to us that night, they are looking to put up an American flag, bi-field flag. I don't know if it's 2 flags, 2 poles, or 1 pole that's gonna be big enough to hold both.
What's a byfield flag?
Or the town of Newbury, I'm sorry.
Oh,
the town
that
of
one,
Newbury,
okay.
yes. To have it put up there as well. I haven't got the specifics on it, but he's looking to do that and one other thing along with it. But he wants to do that for that area, so they're gonna be presenting that as part of his Eagle project, which I will support as much as I can and then help them through it. So he's done a great job of getting through. He's a resident of the Newbury portion of the group, so he's over on Low Street. That's the other announcement. So any other questions? Do I hear a motion to adjourn at 7:24 PM?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in, any discussion?
Discussion, so I still bring up discussion, we still have, never mind, go ahead, we can do close
All those in favor?
Aye.
up.
Opposed? Thank you all very much.